My family treated my brother like he was nothing until the day they needed him the most, and by then, it was already too late. My brother Aaron was always the one who got blamed first. It didn't matter what actually happened in our house. If something went wrong, everyone just looked at him. Growing up, I didn't question it. He was quieter than the rest of us, kept to himself, didn't argue much. It was easy for everyone to assume he was the problem. If something broke, it was Aaron. If something went missing, it was Aaron. If there was tension in the house, somehow it circled back to Aaron. And the worst part was, he never really defended himself. He'd just say, "It's fine," and move on. At the time, I thought he just didn't care. Now I realize he had already accepted how things were. Our parents weren't abusive. That's what made it harder to explain. From the outside, everything looked normal. We had a decent house, regular dinners, holidays together, but inside the house, there was a clear difference. I was the responsible one. Aaron was the difficult one, even when it didn't make sense. I remember one moment clearly. I was around 14. My mom lost some cash she had kept in the kitchen drawer. It wasn't a huge amount, but enough for her to be upset. She didn't even ask questions. She just called Aaron into the room and said, "Give it back." He looked confused. I didn't take anything. My dad stepped in and said, "Don't lie, just fix it." Aaron stood there for a few seconds, then went to his room. Later that night, I found the money inside my own school bag. I had taken it earlier that day and never ended up using it. I had completely forgotten it was still there. I told my mom immediately. She said, "Okay," and that was it. No apology, no conversation with Aaron, nothing. That was the first time I felt something wasn't right, but Aaron didn't even bring it up. He just kept living like that moment didn't matter. Years passed and things didn't change. If anything, they got worse. By the time we were in our late teens, my parents had completely stopped expecting anything from him. They'd say things like, "Don't rely on Aaron," or "He's just not built like that." It became normal to talk about him like he wasn't even in the room, and he stopped reacting completely. He graduated high school, didn't make a big deal out of it, and started working almost immediately. Nothing fancy, just a regular job. While I went to college, he stayed home and helped with expenses. That part always gets overlooked when people talk about him. He paid bills when things got tight. He fixed things around the house without being asked. He was there in ways no one ever acknowledged, but no one changed how they saw him. Then came the moment that exposed everything. Our dad got into serious financial trouble. A business decision went wrong, and suddenly we were dealing with debts none of us even knew existed. The house was at risk. Everything felt like it was collapsing at once. For the first time, my parents didn't have control over the situation, and for the first time, they turned to Aaron. I'll never forget that conversation. My dad sat him down and said, "We need your help." Aaron didn't react right away. He just looked at him for a few seconds. Then he asked one question. "Why me?" There was no anger in his voice, just confusion. My dad started explaining the situation, how things had gotten out of hand, how they needed support, how the family had to come together. Everything suddenly became about unity, about trust, about being there for each other. Aaron listened quietly. Then he said something that hit harder than anything else I've ever heard. "I've been here the whole time." The room went silent because it was true. He had always been there, just never seen. My mom tried to step in, saying things like, "We're all family," and "We need to support each other." But those words didn't carry the same weight anymore, not after years of being treated like he didn't matter. Aaron stood up and said he'd think about it. That night, he didn't come home. The next morning, he left a note. It wasn't long. He said he needed space, that he couldn't keep being the person everyone turned to only when things went wrong, and that for once, he wanted to build a life where he wasn't already expected to fail. He didn't say anything about helping. He didn't say anything about coming back. It's been 8 months since then. We've heard from him once. He's doing fine, working somewhere new, living on his own. No details, no explanations. My parents still talk about him sometimes, but the tone has changed. There's regret now, the kind that comes too late, because the truth is, my brother didn't suddenly stop being part of this family. He just stopped waiting for us to treat him like he was.